You ever notice how the moment a country becomes self-reliant on energy or banking or tech, it immediately becomes a threat? Let's talk about Iran for a moment. Not the one that you get in the headlines, but the one that's rarely shown. Let's look at a few things they have. First of all, a domestically built nuclear fuel system, a satellite launch program, a growing AI, drone, and cybersecurity infrastructure, and their own national internet system that can operate off of the global web. And they've built this despite severe US and EU sanctions, ongoing Western and Israeli intervention, assassination of their top scientists, and cyber attacks like Stuxnet, targeting their nuclear sites. Iran has been independent for over 40 years and still managed to build an independent, high-tech infrastructure detached from the rest of the world. That's not weakness, that's resistance at a systemic level. When you zoom out, you see that Iran is not the first country that's been punished for stepping off grid. Take Libya, for example. They wanted to establish a gold standard, and as soon as they did, NATO bombs the country, Gaddafi is executed, and their gold reserves vanish. In Iraq, Saddam Hussein wants to sell oil in euros. Well, what happens then? Suddenly he's got weapons of mass destruction. Did we ever find them? No, but we found oil. As soon as Venezuela tried to focus on themselves and build their own independence from the world, the media narrative flips overnight, and they're suddenly a terrible communist nation. These were not wars. They're responses from the Western world trying to control the entire globe. So what happens when you have a country that refuses to comply with the global narrative? We see moments like this, where international conflict starts to escalate, and countries all over the world start to panic. While I can't prove it, I do believe that Iran's onto some breakthrough technology, something that could set the entire world free of dependence on energy systems. But even if that's not the case, this should concern everyone because it illustrates who are the bullies. And when you watch the evolution of the narrative on the news, you can see exactly what's going on. So before you believe the next headline that tells you who is really evil, ask yourself, why is that the story? Why is that the headline? And what were they doing to make themselves appear so dangerous? Because the ones who are afraid are the ones who have the power right now, not the ones that are trying to get it. And that should explain everything that you need to know.
We lost the war in Vietnam, we lost the war in Afghanistan, we lost the war in Iraq, and we're in the process of losing it in Ukraine. Hint! What is that about? These are not just wars the United States lost, but let's be clear. The United States, one of the richest countries in the world, went to war in countries that are among the poorest in the world and were defeated. It's over. We are not the center of the world economy the way we were. Every country in the world is rethinking its strategy. Political, economic, military, ideological.
The United States has bombed all of the following countries since World War II. To begin, we do not have to travel far. In Central America, the United States has bombed Panama, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Grenada, the Dominican Republic, and Cuba. Moving across the ocean to Africa, we have Libya, Sudan, and Somalia. In Europe, the list consists of former Yugoslavian countries, namely Serbia, Bosnia, Kosovo, and Montenegro. Next is the Middle East, where the US dropped bombs on Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Kuwait, Iran, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. Moving to East Asia, we have Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Indonesia, Japan, and Korea. Finally, during the bombardment of Belgrade, a few bombs hit the Chinese embassy. So I've included China to the list as well. This is how
In March. To be fair, we had helped to create the problem we're now fighting. How? Because when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, we had this brilliant idea that we were going to come to Pakistan and create a force of mujahideen, equip them with Stinger missiles and everything else to go after the Soviets inside Afghanistan. And we were successful. The Soviets left Afghanistan, and then we said, great, goodbye, leaving these trained people who were fanatical in Afghanistan and Pakistan, leaving them well armed, creating a mess, frankly, that at the time we didn't really recognize. We were just so happy to see the Soviet Union fall, and we thought, okay, fine, we're okay now. Everything's going to be so much better. Now you look back, the people we're fighting today, we were supporting in the fight against the Soviets.
Well, if there was some sort of sense of a win for us, in the sense that, you know, we see all these casualties, we see the casualties going up in Afghanistan. If we got Osama bin
live. That would, I think, inspire the American people to feel much more committed to this project. Do you believe that the Pakistani government knows where Osama bin Laden is? I think elements in the government do. I've said that before. But I think it's also important for your viewers to know we have been getting, with Pakistani cooperation, a lot of the top leadership of Al-Qaeda. Now, we haven't gotten bin Laden or Zawahiri, but we have consistently been able to track and kill a lot of their principal leadership. So there is a story to be told here. It's not yet what I want it to be, because as having been a senator from New York on 9/11, I want those guys. I mean, I will not be satisfied until we get them. But we have made a lot of progress, and we've created a much closer cooperative relationship between the United States and Pakistan. To be fair,
here's what the US media is not telling you about Iran. In March 2025, Iran publicly confirmed that it had found 7,000 tons of high-purity antimony in one of its central regions. Antimony is a critical mineral, especially if you like bombs. It's used in military-grade alloys, semiconductors, armor-piercing rounds, and in plasma and hypersonic tech. It is also vital for solid-state batteries and quantum computing. Global supply chains of antimony are dominated by China, and China has been making moves to restrict export of these key minerals. High-level trade negotiations between the US and China took place in London in June. China's been explicit during those talks. They refused easing restrictions on any exports that were connected to the US defense industry. Specifically, defense contracting. They don't agree with private war. And they told the US unequivocally, these mineral exports are off the table. You are not allowed to use our minerals in your weapons. The US envoys left London empty-handed, and Beijing tightened controls the next day. The Western media frames those talks as progress on climate cooperation? No. The key issue was minerals, and China held the line. The US is running out of mineral leverage. If China won't sell to the West, and Iran is closely aligned with BRICS, the US doesn't have very many options left. They can keep trying to dominate new sources geopolitically, or they can try to extract domestically, or they could turn the machine off. Antimony is a gatekeeper resource. It is critical for future tech and war. Iran has something that the US desperately wants, but cannot openly negotiate for. Iran and China's control of antimony creates a mineral axis outside of Western control. The public reason cited for bombing Iran this weekend is to stop them from going nuclear. The truth is, the West is running out of sources. Iran holds a critical mineral that cannot be easily sanctioned or replaced. BRICS is already discussing critical mineral cooperation. This includes resource for tech swaps. So the cobalt that the Congo has and the antimony that Iran has, they will make a deal between the two of them on the best way to price and share and sell those resources, while Uncle Sam is told to step back. Multiple Western intelligence assessments confirm that there is zero evidence of any attempt at developing a nuclear weapon by Iran. It's actually just not something that's of interest to them because they're not suicidal. Iran's leadership has invited further inspection. The nuclear excuse is a smokescreen. The strikes were preemptive not because Iran might build a bomb, but because it has something the West cannot control. They are trying to disrupt Iran's emergence as a strategic supplier on the global market. Minerals like antimony are not valuable because they're building hospitals or repairing infrastructure, or they're just valuable because they make better missiles, more advanced surveillance technology. The problem is not that the West doesn't have enough of these things. It's that it needs to justify the perpetual military spending. There is a revolving door between defense contractors and the Department of Defense. To these guys, every resource is a strategic justification to bomb. The West does not have a supply problem. It has a values problem. We don't need any more antimony. We need to kill the machine that turns all minerals into products of war.